Hello there, it's Paul here and welcome along everyone. This is my mini series on what some would call the scary skew. Hopefully this will get you inspired to, if you don't currently use the skew and you own one, to get it off the rack and use it. So in this video I'm going to be doing the planing cut, which is probably the most common thing we see people use the skew for, where they create that nice smooth flat surface across the spindle work. The planing cut is also the cut where people are most likely to get a catch, and I for one have had many catches, so just don't be afraid of it. It ends up giving you that spiral effect across the work. With the planing cut, what you do is you end up going across the work, usually at an angle similar to that. It doesn't have to be any particular set angle. You can actually have it at a fairly steep angle like that, or at a very acute angle. That way they all achieve the same thing. But the important thing is that when you do your cut, you need to make sure you keep away from this long point at the top. If that catches the work, that's when you get your catch. So the idea is really, if you can be about a third of the way up from the bottom for your cut, it's no hard rule. It doesn't matter if you creep to half or even further up, but just keep away from that leading point on the top there. You can certainly use the bottom as a leading point. Often I'll use that when I need to get up to an edge. The one important thing about doing the planing cut though is that you do not use this on end grain. So that's why I'm using a spindle here, where it works absolutely fine. And you do this cut exactly the same way that you use all your chisels with, is that you'll place it on the tool rest first of all, present the tool to your work, and then lift the handle so that you then ride the bevel. And that's then when you get your cut. Tool rest height, that's totally down to preference. What you'll find with the tool rest is, to the point of where it cuts, is to how high you have to have the handle. And that's really where the comfort thing is. If you've got the tool rest too high, you'll find you've got to have the handle up here and it might not be comfortable to use. If you've got the tool rest too low, you could end up having the skew down here before you then start lifting the handle to get your cut. And again, that's not comfortable to use. So you have to find that place of where you prefer. So I'll just give a demonstration here on how easy this is to true up. This is a piece of pine. It's ideal for truing up with a skew chisel because it's soft wood and it will come down fairly quickly. So it's on the tool rest, so I'm not actually cutting at the minute. So raise the tool handle and I'm now doing my cut, and then I can go along the work. And you can see there how quickly it's actually taking off the corners, and it doesn't leave a mess. You can see already that the finish on here is really, really good. And if I was using the roughing gouge, that would probably be all torn out and look a right mess. Like with most tools, you're better off starting it in a little bit, doing your cut down, turning the tool around and going the other way, so that you run off the ends. So I'll just true this all up now, and you can see how quickly and easily this works. So just well, that's nearly true. Just got one little bit there, but hopefully you can see here as the quality of finish on there, and that would require very little sanding. So I'll just do one more pass here. Now if you watch, you'll be able to see this a lot better now, as that because it's cutting straight away as soon as I present the tool to the work, and you'll see that I am actually cutting probably around about there, So you can see probably where I'm cutting, where the shavings are coming off the top there. Just got one little bit there, but overall it's trued up. And I've got a little piece of tear out just there, and that's just probably due to the nature of the way the wood is running. Because I was cutting that way, I'm actually then going against the grain of the wood, which is why I've got the tear out. But when I'm cutting this way, I get a lot cleaner cut. Now you can probably see with the height of the tool rest I've got there, I've actually got the chisel fairly high up here. But when I started out, because it was so much thicker, because I had all the square edges on there, I had the tool down here, which was more of the comfort position. So it's also a case of then just altering the tool rest height sometimes as you go along. The smaller your spindle is when doing the peeling cut compared to the size of your skew, the easier it will be and the less chance you've got of having a catch. If I was to use my smaller skew here to do this, I could do it quite comfortably enough because I'm used to using the skew now. But you can see that because this is a really wide spindle, is that there's a very small difference as to where I'm cutting on the blade. Now of course there's more to the planing cut than just truing something up as nice and flat and straight as that. You often want to create shapes. The easiest thing is to put a simple curve, and the best way to give an example of that is a bit like if you're making a pen, as that I would have used the skew on here to create those gentle curves. So I'm going to give an example here. I'm just going to use the parting tool here to just go in a bit on each side here, and then I can then just do a couple of dips so that I round it off a bit. So I've just gone in there with the parting tool. That's probably 3-4 mil deep at the most, and as you can see, it does create a really rough cut. So I'll just want to curve this off so that I leave this centre more or less at the same height, but then come down to that point at the end here as a gentle curve. And these are the easiest things going. I will lose some of the top here probably, but not very much. I want to take it down to there. So and we can see on here where I'm just about getting the cut. And as you'll see, this is where I use the lower points here. Because I want to finish the cut down the bottom there. So that side's done. As you see, very quick and simple, and you can see the difference in quality here of using the skew. I mean, look how rough that is from using the parting tool on the side there, and I was actually more or less riding the bevel as I come down there, so we're trying to do more of a peeling cut. This then, other than probably a little bit of tear out on the inside here, would need very little sanding. So you can see how easy it was that it's start off, get your cut, raise the handle. Now hopefully you can see how easy it is to do with a planing cut. If you're doing very flat work with a few little curves, gentle curves, it's nice and easy. And as I say, find spindles which are quite small in size. Even if you start off with something like a pen blank size, something like that, with a 1-inch skew, it will be so much easier, and you've got far less chance of getting a catch. And if you get a catch, look back to see why, it's often because you've just maybe have caught the top leading long point, and that's why you've got that catch where it's dragged the skew back across your spindle and created that spiraling effect, and that's the worst you're going to do. Now, hopefully this inspired you to get that skew off your rack and have a go. Thanks a lot for watching.